Okay, it's 6:30. Good evening, folks. It's nice to see you all. Welcome to the public. And as chair of the Guilford Select Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by Governor Scott as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and pursuant to Addendum 6 to Executive Order 01-20 and Act 92, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. In accordance with Act 92, there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, in accordance with the temporary amendments to the open meeting law, I confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone and video, with additional access offered through telephone and video. We are using Google Meet for this remote meeting. All members of the Guilford Select Board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen if desired, participate in this meeting by telephone or joining the Google Meet meeting. B, providing public notice of instructions for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, including how to access the meeting using the telephone and or the video. The URL address for access via video is as follows: https://meet.google.com/JUT-IJTW-ABS. And the phone number for access is as follows: 617-675-4444. And I shall give you the PIN number, 829-657-702-3242#. You can also, and the access has also been provided on the Guilford Town website, and that's at guilfordvermont.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please telephone 802-254-4117. And D, continuing the meeting if necessary. In the event the public is unable to access this meeting, it will be continued to a time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. Let's start the meeting by taking our roll call vote of all members participating in the Select Board meeting. Michael Becker.
Here.
Miranda Porch.
Here.
Rusty Marine.
Here.
Richard Wazanski. Here. And would the members of the public and our legislator like to introduce themselves?
Steve,
So,
Go ahead, Sarah.
hi everyone, this is your state representative, Sara Coffey, joining.
Who's next?
Sheila
Rich
Morse,
BCTV.
Finance Advisory Committee.
Steve, you want to introduce yourself?
Steve Lemke, Guilford resident, Green River.
Excellent. And Leslie, you're in mute.
Hi, I'm Leslie Malowin. I'm a resident of Guilford and the new town auditor.
Welcome all. Thank you very much. So we've recognized the public, the rules of procedure which govern how the public and the Select Board interact with each other are available if you would like to see them. But I would say that they are highlighted by civility. That's the word that we would use in terms of our interactions. Are there any additions to the agenda this evening?
I have none.
Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda order?
None also.
Very good. And the minutes, I'm presuming that all the select board members have read the minutes. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, who was that? Michael seconded?
Michael, yes.
And is there any discussion? Okay, we should take a roll call vote then. All those in favor accepting the minutes of our previous meeting, Michael Becker,
Aye.
Miranda Porch,
Aye.
Rusty Marine,
Aye.
Richard Wazansky, aye. And the motion carries. Thank you very much. Do we have a update on the highway?
Yes, I spoke with Danny this afternoon, and the guys have been doing quite a lot of stone line ditching around town, which they're going to be continuing to do over the next couple of weeks. They're also going, a couple of the guys on the road crew are also going to be replacing some culverts in a few different areas in town, and they've been doing some grading. And as long as we continue getting rain, Danny won't have to be using any chloride.
Good. Is that it?
That's it. That's all he told me.
That's the update. Thank you very much, and please send our thanks to Danny. Sara Coffey is going to give us a legislative update. Sara, the floor is yours. And the ceiling too.
Great. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to be here on this summer evening. I think the last time I joined you all for a select board meeting we were in the very early days of this pandemic. So I wanted to come back for a couple of reasons, but to share a little bit of a legislative update briefly, and also just to check in with the select board to hear how you're doing during this time, and to also tell you a little bit about our work ahead, and maybe you can, if there are things that you want to do to help me do my job better. So just so that folks know, because of the pandemic, we are in an extended legislative session. We normally would be wrapping up, we would have wrapped up by the middle of May, but this year we worked until June 26th. And the focus of our work was mainly to work on priority legislation, but also to primarily work on allocating the federal dollars that came through for the Corona Relief Fund. And we will be returning to our work on August 25th. So during this summer recess, want to take time to connect with constituents and also with various groups, because I think it really helps me inform my work. And I feel like a big part of my job is to communicate some of the work that we're doing. So first off, I wanted to make sure that the select board and that Peter Rood was aware of an important piece of legislation that we passed that included Corona relief funding for municipalities. We included $10 million for municipalities to help cover some of the expenses that our towns may have incurred due to the pandemic. The legislation was signed by the governor in early July, and I know that it will be accessible through the agency of the administration. And I was hoping that I would have a few more details, but I have not heard from the Suzanne Young about exactly how these are going to roll out. And I know that that Peter works with the Vermont City Leagues and Towns, who I think is really on top of this. But I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of these dollars, because it can go for things like staff overtime due to COVID-19, additional supplies, any kind of physical barriers that you may have had to create at the town office to be able to safely work with the public. So, and if you, I'm happy to talk more about that or answer questions about that or help you connect with folks if you have more questions.
Sarah, we were happy to hear that news at our previous meeting, and we discussed it at that time.
Great. And so please let me know if you have any challenges accessing that funding. I'm here to help.
Sarah, was that S966? Was that S966, Sarah?
Yes, it was folded. It was originally in a standalone bill, and it was originally S349, and it went into H966. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And I think other things that people know about was the legislation around doing mail out ballots, and I know that our town clerk has been very busy at work because I received my ballot at home.
I did too.
Yeah, so this was a big endeavor for our town Secretary of State and for our town clerks to do, and I look forward to hearing the feedback on how that's going, and I'll check in with Penny as well.
I can actually give feedback if you want.
Sure.
Okay, because Penny, I spoke about that today. So far, she's mailed out. She and Ellie have mailed out about 395 ballots, and they have almost that many still to send out thus far.
Wow.
We've heard that compared to 2018, that the request for absentee ballots is up 5 times the number that was done in 2018. So, and it looked like it was continuing to climb. So it's good to hear how things are going in town. But I know you're pressed on time, so I just want to make sure that let folks know. This spring I worked with a lot of constituents on helping them navigate the unemployment claims. There was a challenging number of claims being made, and folks were having trouble. If people who might be watching this are experiencing problems, they should really always feel free to reach out to me because I can help with that.
That's great.
The other thing is that we did a lot of work on making sure that there were grants for businesses, small businesses of all different shapes and sizes. And I won't go into the details here, but those programs began to roll out on July 6th. And if folks need to reach me, I'll just say my email out loud in case my legislative email is S as in Sara, Coffey, spelled the Irish way, COFFEY @leg.state.bt.us. And you can always look me up on the legislative website as well. Those grants, we hope, will be a bridge in helping some of our small businesses and making it through. And then I wanted to be sure that folks knew that some of the work that we were doing around racial justice, we passed a very important first step of a bill around policing, and when we go back in August, we'll be doing some more work on that. The big bulk of our work is going to be focusing on the remainder of the FY21 budget. What we did was we passed the first quarter budget and then additional funds for certain areas of state government that do the bulk of their work in the first and second quarter of the year. It was really important. We took this approach in the Senate and in the House rather than doing across the line budget cuts of 8%. We felt it was really important that state government stay open for people in this time of great need. And that in August, we will have some more financial projections coming in, and we'll be able to make better decisions about how to proceed with the rest of the fiscal year. And last, I wanted to say that as I've been making my phone calls around town, I just wanted to share with the select board, the big issue that I'm hearing about is the safe reopening. How are we going to safely reopen our schools? I think that's on the top of my mind as well. And so I've been in touch with a number of folks, and I'll continue to meet with our leadership council here in Guilford and parents. And I have to say, I think our superintendents, it's a very big job how to roll this out. And I hope that we can all be supportive and patient and flexible, because they'll develop a plan that will need to be flexible and adaptable. And I hope that we can all as a community be supportive and flexible and adaptable. Our teachers have done such amazing work this spring for our students. And I just want to say that kind of in a public forum, I was really moved by how quickly they responded in getting meals to kids and getting lessons and pivoting their lesson plans online. We know that there are a lot of kids, though, who haven't done so well with the online education. So I think, and that some kids are being left behind. So I'm really vigilant about how we do this reopening, and if there's folks have feedback to me that I can share with the Secretary of the Agency of Education and the House Education Committee, I'm happy to do that. So I think I'll end there because that's kind of a lot. And I just want to say I love this work. I love representing this town, and I am really grateful that I have some time this summer to kind of reconnect with people to hear how people are doing. So, and I thank you all as our select board for being here for all of us and providing such strong leadership during this challenging time.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions or comments for Sarah?
Well, my comment to Sarah is that what I hear around town is that people are comforted by the fact that we have you in Montpelier and here among us, because the level of detailed caring that you're doing, it shows.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'd like to welcome Zahn. Hi, Zahn. There you are.
All right, to be so
Glad
late.
that you're with us. Are there any more comments or questions for Sarah? I'd like to move along.
Quick comment for Sarah. Just Sarah, thank you. You're doing a great job. We really love it.
I agree.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sarah. Okay, on to BCTV reopening.
Yes, so I just received a letter, not just, but I did receive an email from Cor Trowbridge, the executive director of BCTV, just sharing with us that they are now, BCTV is now reopened. I'm not going to go into the details, but she shared a document with me that outlined their requirements for filming of town meeting, various town meetings, such as the select board meeting. And just wanted to make sure the select board saw that and knew about that. And as Richard and I were discussing last week, as long as we can meet their requirements so that their staff are safe, there could potentially be the option that we could hold a meeting outdoors. And I will turn it over to Richard for his comments on that.
Right. I very much think that that's a good idea. And it's not on the agenda tonight, but perhaps we should put it on the agenda for next meeting. I don't even know if we need do we need a motion for that to say that we want to meet outdoors?
I don't think so.
Well, I could take a sort of, what is the select board's feeling about that? I'll go first in saying that I think that's a good idea. And if we are properly social distanced from each other and from the recording apparatus and the person who is recording with the apparatus, then it seems to me that it would be a desirable and life-giving a moment for us to be meeting out of doors. So that's my thought. Other members of the select board?
I would be for that, but what is the contingency for bad weather?
We'd have to go back to Google Meet, I guess, or get rained on. But I mean, I think that we would, we'd have to understand that it would be the day of, calling it either outside or by video. Michael, what's your thought?
I'm supportive of getting together outdoors.
And Zahn?
Outdoors.
And Veranda?
Sure, outdoors is good.
Okay, so then Peter and I will we'll work on that to see whether we can, number one, find a table to sit at outdoors, and number two, work with BCTV to see whether the recording, whether we can record it well. Steve?
Richard, how do you notify the public so that they have either video access or in-person access?
Well, it would be recorded just as if it were an indoor meeting, and we would put the way to get access the recording on our website, and where we and on Front Porch Forum like we do when we're meeting inside.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Peter. And then Green River parking problems. Does someone want to state the case articulately? One of the things that I would like to accomplish here is that I wanted Peter to be able to tell us what legally the select board can do in regard to parking problems at Green River. So I think
Would you like?
what.
Sure. I mean, I'm on the trust and the select board, and the trust originally asked me to sort of present the case, but Steve, you're welcome to as well.
Okay, so all right. So why don't you present the case, either one of you, and then? But it's also important to hear from Peter in regard to what the select board's responsibilities, or what it is that we could do to alleviate the problem. Because that's extremely important. If we can't do anything, then we can't do anything.
Well,
Why don't you start, and then I'll chime in
Sure.
and chip it from the line as well.
the trust has some members who are concerned that with the increased traffic that this summer has seen, and I'm hearing that historically this has been an issue, but I think because of COVID-19, we're seeing even more cars than usual, and there's just some concerns that the road has become impassable at times. And there's been some discussion about various measures that the board or the trust might consider taking. Some of them are more drastic than others. We kind of came to a compromise of asking, the reason we're here tonight is we think that if the edge of the road were maintained in a different way, we could encourage people to not block the road. I guess the two major things are emergency vehicles are one of the biggest concerns, as well as commercial delivery vehicles. So the solution that we're proposing, and we're looking to sort of have a back and forth with the town about, is we're looking to set up some sort of edge barriers, as in the form of some logs at the side of the road, and also some signage that would encourage people to park as close as possible. So I think people sometimes, when they're just cruising through out on a drive, if they're not from here, they're just sort of struck by the beauty, or they just want to go for a swim, they're hot, and they tend to just sometimes kind of park pretty irresponsibly, and there may or may not be some blockage issues where cars can't pass. So I don't know, Steve, anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I can say that this is not a 24/7 issue. If you take a Saturday afternoon on Memorial Day weekend at 3 p.m. When it's 90 out, there's 20 cars parked, one right after the other in a solid line. And what happens in a situation like that is that if one of those cars, we're not talking about just large vehicles here. We're talking about people who may have hesitancy of getting too close to the west. Well, it's on the west side of the bridge that we're talking about. People are hesitant to get too close to the edge because there's nothing there to stop them from technically going over. And we think that if there were poles there that were spiked on behind them, or logs, it would be a simple solution that we could try with a sign that says something like maybe parallel parking only, please park close to the barrier, and then a short discussion saying the public road must be left passable for all legally registered vehicles, including emergency and commercial vehicles, utility trucks, and cars. Town of Guilford, Vermont. But that was just us as a board looking for the first step, the baby step, if you will, to give people more security to get closer to the edge and therefore not block the road.
So I'd like to ask Peter now, can the town legally do that, put in the logs to make an edge so that cars are not, so that people in cars are not frightened about going over the edge?
Yes, you can, in short. Both looking at the statute as well as speaking with Danny this afternoon on this specific topic. Yes, that is something we can do. A couple things to note from Danny. One is that does present some complication. For example, setting out logs, so people don't go over the edge there, did present a concern in that those logs would then need to be moved or removed in the late fall so that the road crew can plow in the area. So that presents additional work for the town road crew. Legally, it is not a problem because it is within the town right-of-way, and the town can do that. The primary responsibility of the town is to keep the road open and passable, as Steve noted in his comment.
Okay, and what about signage? Can the town legally put up signs?
Absolutely, as long as it's within the town right-of-way, we can put it up without any question. That would just take a motion by the select board. If it's outside of the road, the right-of-way, the select board would need to get permission from the property owner.
Mm-hmm. Are there any? It seems to me that would it take a motion of the select board then to say that we want to alleviate the parking situation at Green River at the swimming hole? Do we need a motion for that?
I don't personally think that you need a motion to that. I think if that's something that you feel is important and necessary, I think that is something you can directly instruct Danny as the road foreman and say, this is something that we feel needs.
Sound.
Yeah.
Is anybody else there?
I think he was frozen.
Peter, we lost you.
Oh, you lost? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. So what I was just saying is, I don't think you need a motion to do that. I think that falls within the scope of work of Danny and his staff. And, Danny's direct supervisor being you, Richard, you could just instruct him, this is what we feel is important to do to maintain road safety in Green River.
Well, I'd very much like to do that. And what about the rest of the select board? Do you think that we should go ahead and do that and have our highway department take care of this problem in the way that it's been suggested?
I agree, but is there any other concern other than the parking about that, like the amount of people using it, or is it just the parking we're concerned about?
Well, I think that those are two related but separate issues. Parking is one kind of safety, and social distancing is another kind of safety. And I don't think that we can really deal with them in the same breath.
Right, and I would like to deal with the parking issue, which is on the agenda.
Can I make a comment too, that the big difference in those two discussions is that the area around the mill pond that we're talking about, the swimming and so forth, is private land and not town land. So the discussions we're having tonight are with the select board is what you can do about public access and things, not private land.
Okay, so let me just take a straw poll here. Michael, do you approve of our highway department working to fix this problem?
I do. And just keep in mind, I'm on the trust, so
yeah.
I originally thought I would be abstaining from any kind of vote, but yeah, I would.
We're not voting. I'm just
okay.
asking your opinion.
Yes, I'm very.
Okay, and what about you, Zon?
Yes, I'm in agreement. I think it's just so long as we're in concert with the trust and the folks that are watching this and caring about it.
Okay, and Veranda?
Yes, I feel the same way. I wonder whether the Minotts have spoken about this and whether they're as concerned as other people are.
I actually think they might be on a phone line at the meeting right now.
Oh, great.
I do think we should get Addison and Addie's formal. They've been present at these trust meetings and have listened in. I'm not sure I've actually heard them say, because it was a little unclear who owned this land in the right of way. But turns out,
But we're talking right now about the town's road.
well, I think it's their property, but
It's the town's
the
road.
town's right away on their property.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And Rusty, what about you?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay, and I think and I'm certainly in favor of it. So what I think that we should do is that Peter and I will get together and also talk to the trust and for your suggestions about signs, and talk to Danny. Maybe we should have a meeting with Danny about this, and then come up with a solution. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
I mean, I spoke with Danny this afternoon, and he said he would be happy to implement whatever the select board asked him to do, including ordering a sign. I shared the sign recommendation that Steve made. I shared a copy of that with Danny this afternoon, and he said that would not be a problem to get a sign made stating that information.
Chip Carter's our president. Chip, anything more that you want to add on behalf of everybody on the board?
No, I don't think so. I think everything is falling, just like it should be, really. And obviously, I appreciate the select board support and the flexibility of Dan. The only signage I would add would be on the east side of the road, where currently there are a couple of homemade signs that say no parking this side. And I think we need something that looks a little bit more standard and uniform on that other side. But since that'll be a discussion with Danny and possibly Peter, maybe even Richard down the road, that would be great.
And the town can certainly put in no parking signs on that side of the road if that helps in this situation.
I think it really would. I mean, it's that when you turn the left-hand corner, I think people get so excited to get over there to the dam and the mill pond that they really just park anywhere. And if they could just stay correspondingly on the left-hand side, especially if they pull up with Steve's idea close to the logs, and if there was a sign that could somehow strongly suggest that, that'd be great. And then, sometimes when it gets a little full, you'll have people just park on the right-hand side, the east side going down, and if we can eliminate that, it'd be fantastic.
I think we lost Richard.
I think we did.
Yep, it looks that way.
Go on.
So
Should Veranda step in?
that's what I was just going to suggest.
Is she still with us?
I don't have her on it either.
I don't see Brenda either.
Oh, apparently we lost them both.
Pack of corners down the drain.
Time for the communications union.
Yeah, well, working on it. Have a meeting tomorrow and another one on Wednesday.
So we have one of two options. Well, we have one of three options. We can continue the meeting, and one of the other select board members can take the next item on the agenda. We can wait a few minutes to see if we are able to connect with them, or we can, by a motion of the other select board members, we can suspend the meeting until we can get all reconnected.
Do we have a quorum here, Peter, now?
Yes, we do. We've got you, Rusty, Zahn, and Michael.
I think we should go ahead. Because I'm sure they're trying to get back in.
I would presume as much.
Does anybody know their landline numbers? Can we just give them a call?
Do they have one? I don't have that.
I have their numbers, guys. Do you want me to call them?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
So you other three select board members, while Sarah is muting herself and calling them, do you have an agenda in front of you, or do you want me to inform you of what's next?
I know what's next is the confirmation of internal controls.
Yep, and I I know that Richard would give this over to me anyways, so I will speak to this. So starting last year, the state started requiring the town treasurer to present a document confirming that the town has a series of internal financial controls established to primarily to prevent fraud. So I shared a document with the select board that demonstrates the steps of the procedure that we have within the town office to ensure that we have multiple people looking at each step of those stages when money is involved. And Penny has signed off on it, and she just needs select board approval of that. So we would need a motion from someone to confirm that what Penny has presented to the select board via me is in fact true.
Well, I will make a motion to confirm the internal controls.
I will second it.
So since you don't have a select board chair, I'll just do a roll call vote. Rusty, what is your vote?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
And Michael?
Aye.
And Veranda and Richard are absent and cannot vote at the moment, but since we have a quorum, that motion passes.
And the next thing on the adjournment would be pay increases.
Yep, so this was rolled over from the last meeting. It was one of the items that was postponed. At town meeting day, with excuse me, the approval of the budget, this included pay increases for all town staff. And Penny just needs the select board to retroactively approve this back to July 1st. So since the town residents already approved it, there's nothing that the select board really can do to change it. It's just that you are authorizing it to be implemented as of July 1st.
Okay.
So if somebody could make a motion to retroactively approve pay increases to July 1.
I'll make a motion to retroactively approve pay increases to July 1.
And I will second it.
Roll call vote. Michael?
Aye.
Azan?
Aye.
And Rusty?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Peter?
Yes.
I did reach Richard. Their internet, Veranda and Richard's internet are down, but he's going to try to call in.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm going to bid you, since I interrupted, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, here I am. I'm back.
Okay, Richard, so we are now on the FAC on the town website. We just did confirmation of internal controls and pay increases.
Okay. So there were, the way I understand this agenda item is that the Finance Advisory Committee, Sheila, would you like to speak to this?
Mute.
Is Sheila there?
She's there.
I am. Would you say that again?
Yes, would you like to speak to this agenda item, the Finance Advisory Committee on the website?
Sure. I was I was trying to understand the impact of open meeting law and whether or not I know our agenda is posted. I haven't seen our minutes, and we are an appointed committee, but not board or commissioned by the select board. So either we need to comply with open meeting law and have our agendas and minutes up, or we don't. But I don't know exactly how that works, and so I just thought it was important to know what's happening. So Peter, you can probably answer that.
Yep, so yes, the agenda and minutes are both on there. Because we don't have a specific section for them, for the Finance Advisory Committee on their own at the moment, they're a little bit more difficult to find. Sheila is correct that they are an appointed committee, and even though you are a committee, that does not exempt you from open meeting law. So we still need to post the agenda and minutes. And from my understanding, and correct me if I misunderstood this, Sheila, my understanding is I know some of the other members of the committee were interested in sharing more information with residents of the town, particularly about what your charge is from the select board and the work that you'll be doing, and be able to potentially provide brief updates to residents.
That could be, yes.
I have a question. Do our other commissions, do the commissions don't have their agenda and minutes on the website, do they?
Absolutely. All of the town commissions have agenda and minutes on there. They don't
We're not a
have.
commission.
What, Sheila?
I said, we are not a commission, we're just a committee.
I understand. I understand. Well, I have no problem with the minutes and the agendas being put up there. And I also think that the charge that is in writing should be there too in regard to the origins of the committee. What do others think on the select board?
Richard, you can't see, but Sheila's raising her hand to make a comment.
Okay, Sheila, thanks. Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that it not be. I think it's important that it be there. I know that I have searched today to look for the minutes and I couldn't find them. And I just go to minutes and do a general search and I get minutes of different boards. So if it's hard for me, and I think I know that website pretty well, it's probably hard for other people as well. And I'm just hoping that we can get it, like we could be another sort of like committee, commissioner board. That's all.
Okay.
So
I'm asking the select board, and I can't see you, but does anyone have a problem with the Finance Advisory Committee having their minutes and agenda and their charge on the Guilford website?
No, that sounds like a great idea.
No.
So Richard, at the moment, oh, sorry, there you're back again, Zon. Okay, I lost you for a second, Zon.
Oh, sorry.
Let's just do that, Peter, okay?
Yep, I'll take the steps necessary to make it easier to find, and I'll share it with Sheila just to make sure since she uses the website a lot and is very familiar with it because of her previous role, just to make sure that she feels comfortable with it. And I'll obviously share it with you, Richard.
Okay, very good, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the resolution of budget confusion at town meeting. I put this on the agenda, and I had a conversation with Sheila about this, and Gordon, who were select board members at the time of this budget confusion. And I thought it would be a good idea to have the minutes reflect that the select board did consider this the confusion, and I wanted the minutes to reflect. This is what I'm suggesting, that those who were responsible for the budget confusion were spoken to and admonished following personnel protocols that are in place now. Period. Methods to avoid repeat episodes were identified. But what I'm suggesting is that we put that into the minutes because those were the actions that were taken, and to make sure that the public understands that those were the actions that were taken in regard to the differentiation between what a select board member said was the highway budget and what was in the town warning.
Fine.
We need Hello?
Hello?
Is that all right, folks?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you. Peter, did you get that language?
Yep, I did, and I will review the video prior to completing the minutes, and I will share it with you to make sure that they capture your statement.
Okay, thank you. On to old business, the vacation policy review. Now, this has come up because we have a policy in Guilford, and you've read Peter's memo, where an employee may carry unused accrued vacation leave forward to the next year up to a maximum of 10 vacation days. So that means what I used to call it in our work is rollover. You could roll over 10 days that you did not use for vacation. In addition to that, our town policy says an employee with unused accrued vacation leave that exceeds the amount carried forward will be compensated for this excess unused leave at a rate equal to his or her regular rate of pay on the last day of the year of employment in which vacation leave was received, which means that that the town will do a cash payout for those vacation days that were rolled over that exceed 10. And
excuse me, Richard.
yes, go ahead, please.
I was wondering, it says at the end of employment, the way I read it, it isn't when they leave employment, it means the end of the year?
That's correct. It means that it's the last day that of the year in which the days were rolled over.
So
Could that language be changed in there then, if that's the way it's going to be? Instead of saying end of employment?
Doesn't say end of employment. It says that on the last day of the year of employment in which vacation leave was received. So I think you're right, Rusty. I would like to make that clear. So can we take that back and see if we could make that clear in regard to the year in which the rollover is happening? That's when the cash payout is made.
Richard, Sheila would like to make a comment.
Yes, please.
So the period runs from the beginning to the end of the fiscal year. So you have collected your accrued and unused paid vacation, and if it's in excess of 10 days, like if it's more than 5 days more that you haven't used of your vacation, you would get a payout of 5 days. If you leave your employment at some point between July 3rd and June 30th of the next year, you have all of your accumulated, accrued, and used and unused vacation. It doesn't matter if it's at the end of employment or not. The calculations are based on a fiscal year accumulation and accrual. So I don't think you need to change the language. I think that's the calculation is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But we're not budgeting. We're not budgeting for that, are we? As far as when somebody works and getting paid, that's going above and beyond what we're budgeting, isn't it correct?
That's correct, and Rusty, that's what the issue is. And I asked Penny this afternoon to let me know what we were paying out, and for fiscal year FY20, we paid $935.70, which equals 40 hours, and in FY19, we paid out $3,538.13, which equals 127 and a half hours. So there is an impact to the budget there, because those payouts have not been budgeted. So one of the actions that the select board could take is to have a contingency for cash payouts like this, or we can change the policy, because as you saw in Peter's memo, a number of towns that surround us do not have a cash payout, although a couple do, and some of the towns around us have a rollover that accumulates to more than 10 days rollover. So,
Richard, can I also add something?
Sure, please.
So I think touching back on combining what you just stated with, from my understanding, what Rusty was trying to get at a moment ago, I think there's some confusion similar to what the select board dealt with in the previous corrections to the policy, is that there are two things happening here. There's the way that the policy is written, and then the way that the policy has been implemented in the past. In that, as Rusty was trying to note, I think, is that it should be clear in the policy that that XYZ happens if an employee leaves employment with the town, and then XYZ happens at the end of a fiscal year if an employee has vacation time in excess of what can be carried over. Does that make sense?
Yes, because that distinction is important. We're talking about the distinction between getting paid for your rollover time while you're still working for the town.
Correct.
In that fiscal year, and when you terminate, what is rolled over.
And I can also state that no, these extra payouts, whether at the end of a fiscal year or at the end of an employee's employment, no, that is not part of the budget, and it should be in the budget. So as to not elongate this conversation, Richard, I would suggest that I could work with yourself and Rusty on changing the language of this policy to present to the select board at a subsequent later meeting.
Okay, I agree with that, but also there is a decision. We really don't have to make any decision. I mean, if we're satisfied that we will do a cash payout, as the policy now says, then we don't have to take any action. We only have to take action if we want to change that. And is there any sense on this of the select board? Are you in favor, or we don't have to make an action now, but I'd just like to have some thought about this in regard to, do you think that this is an equitable way to handle rollover, that if you roll over more than 10 days, then you get paid in cash for your vacation days?
My personal opinion would be to use it or lose it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why we get vacations, so you take days off. I mean,
I think
that would be my opinion.
I tend to agree with Rusty. I mean, I don't mind being a little soft in some ways, but I think it's a little bizarre that we have a double system for vacations, when the real objective of a vacation is to encourage employees to use the vacation so that they're healthy and well during the year that they're working, not banking from future time. You know?
Yeah. It really is all about encouraging employees to take vacation time.
I think that's a policy that we should hold pretty strongly.
Yeah. What about you, Michael?
I see. I'm with Rusty and Zahn. As far as I think it's important for people to use vacation to rest and recover. And I used vacation in the past, not just for vacations, but for other reasons too. I mean, just to get well or deal with family.
So why don't we do this if you're in agreement that we...
Richard, Sheila would like to comment as well if you have a moment.
Oh, Sheila, yes. I can't see you, Sheila. I'm sorry.
So I totally agree that, I mean, the policy itself states that employees are strongly urged to take vacation because of the benefits of vacation. Gordon and I talked a little bit about this today, and we remember the road crew's extreme opposition in the past several years to any changes in compensation and overtime and accrued vacation to any part of that policy. And so as I was thinking about the complexities of this, I was thinking that either we don't pay people enough, or they're deciding that they're not going to take vacation because they want more money or whatever. But I think I would urge you strongly to have conversations with the road crew before approving another policy, just so you have some more feedback from them.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. That's an important comment, and I think that's something that we should do. And so what I would suggest is that we write a new policy, and then we review that and get input from the road crew. Or how does that sound to the board?
I think we should also take in mind that of the losses we're gonna take this year also in the
Yeah.
budget. That has to be taken in consideration also.
But it sounded to me like there was a pretty enthusiastic, I mean, it was a unanimous opinion that it's we should move to a lose it or use it or lose it policy, which is
I agree with that.
which is
Can I ask the
because
question, why are we only asking the people from the highway department, not all town staff?
we should ask. We should discuss it with the staff of the town of Guilford. Yes.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Okay. So just to summarize, we're going to. Rusty, do you want to join Peter and me in drafting? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we will redraft a hypothetical policy because it will be hypothetical because it won't be voted on, and we will discuss it, and we will be prepared to basically defend it, I suppose, if necessary, but discuss it and get the input of the employees of the town of Guilford.
Good.
Thank you very much. Okay, the dog officer. Peter, do you want to present that, the dog officer and the constable issue?
Yeah, so this was, again, a carryover from the previous meeting. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to open up a document here so I can speak to this a little bit better. And so the young man that was appointed by the select board as the constable has, as I shared with you previously, has volunteered to take on the role of the animal control officer, dog officer, however you want to state it. And I reached out as well to the attorneys at VLCT per Richard's request. So an animal control officer is a position that may be created or appointed by the select board, in one in which the select board determines the scope of authority or duties for that role. So there is technically not a legal mechanism to create a role to be shared between towns, because that was another question by the select board as to whether or not we could partner with neighboring communities to have a shared animal control officer. And so that presents some complications because of the fact of how state statute is in Vermont, is if it's not explicitly stated, towns are not supposed to be able to do that. So VLCT cautioned us about that. Then the other issue is, even if it was approached, is that whoever is appointed to that position would need to be approved separately by each select board in each town. And then that person would have to be, if agreed upon, compensated in some way separately by each town for each call that they attend to. So that's kind of the background to the situation.
But we have now a candidate who could serve both as the constable and the dog officer, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So we really could go forward with having a Guilford constable and Guilford dog officer without thinking of sharing that with other towns.
You could. Yep.
Mike, I have one question that I have is, why is our constable, has our constable historically been a law enforcement constable?
That is correct. That authority was granted to the constable in Guilford, I believe was back in the late 70s. I had looked it up at one point in time, looking back at minutes of an old town meeting, and it had happened at town meeting day previously within Guilford. And so in order for that to change, it would need to be an item on a warning for town meeting day in the future. Mm-hmm. And so in addition, so part of this conversation came about between Richard and myself at minimum, is regarding doing a background check on on whoever is interested in being a constable, and I reached out to VLCT to inquire of them what recommendations or suggestions they had for doing that process. And so we got a response from VLCT, from their law enforcement consultant, and it's a fairly lengthy response, which I shared with the select board. That, in short, they do not recommend the town undertaking a background check in and of themselves. They strongly recommend hiring a consultant and or a third party to do that background check due to the sensitive nature of it as well as the complexities of it.
Right. I don't think we need a consultant. I mean, there are organizations that are in the business of doing these background checks.
Yeah, and he did recommend 3 different businesses or business owners that do those background checks.
Yeah.
That's a question. The candidate, I mean, are they active? Like, have we approved this person as the constable already?
Yes, so you did appoint him as constable. He does, until a background check is completed, and as well as until he completes a certain level of training and demonstrates that to the town or the select board, he does not have any authority to fulfill that role, or she, if that were the case. But in this instance, it's a gentleman.
So the question before us is, do we want to go forward and do a background check on this individual? And I certainly think that we should. What do others think?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I agree.
John?
I agree.
Rusty?
I agree.
Okay, so we should do that. And maybe, Peter, that you could inquire from these, maybe we should do a background check on these 3 investigators that we have. No, just kidding. But we should just find out what the estimated cost would be from each of them.
Okay, I will do so.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll have to bring this up again when we know the cost. And also, I think it would be good to have a little briefing on each one of them.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Is there any further discussion of this matter?
Is that, I mean, are we at risk of losing this candidate if we wait another 2 weeks? I mean, is there any way to expedite the background check?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He knows that this is I've explained to him that we do have to have a background check. He fully understands that. And I told him that we've been checking with our insurer, which is passive, as well as the league, just to make sure that we do so correctly. And so he understands.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, any further comments or questions on that item? All right, now we're on to wearing masks in public. And just to give some context, I read, I believe it's from the governor, who is recommending, I don't think it's legislative, but it's certainly a very hearty recommendation that towns do encourage the wearing of masks in their towns, both in public and in private establishments. Is that correct, Peter?
Yes, it is correct in that Vermont is one of the few states that has not mandated it. But the governor has authorized all towns and all businesses or organizations in which the public has access to their facilities, the authority to require or not the wearing of masks upon entering any building or facility. The one addition I would say is the additional authority that a town has would be to pass either a resolution or an ordinance requiring it anywhere in town. Obviously, a business doesn't have that authority, but the select board does. But that is very difficult to enforce, which is partly why the state has not mandated it.
Right. So, I mean, my thought is that given when I read what the governor said, I think it was yesterday, that it seems to me to be harmonious with what the legislature and the governor are saying, that we could pass a resolution requesting folks wear masks in public and private establishments in our town. And I'm wondering what the select board thinks about that. Miranda's not here, and we know what Miranda, I think I know what Miranda, in what she said previously at previous meetings, has said. What do the rest of you think?
You're just talking about a recommendation, Richard? Is that
A resolution that cannot be enforced.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I would say so long as it's worded somehow, if we can, the resolution, just that it's worded that we're in support, in league with the governor and with so many in the state of Vermont. You know, it's, again, we're not trying to trample on anyone's rights here,
Right.
except that we all want to be healthy too, so.
Yeah. So I think that I would like it, you know, if we do make a statement, that's a very good point, John, that should be pursuant to the governor's statement, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rusty, did you want to say something?
No, I think that's fine.
I just wanted to clarify just that if you do it as a resolution, that a resolution is, you know, the select board taking a legal action. And so, you know, recommending an action is not something you would do under a resolution. It's either a do or do not do. So if the select board wants to encourage or recommend that folks in town wear masks, then that would be something different than a resolution or an ordinance.
Okay, so we could make a statement as a recommendation, is what you're saying?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so do we want to make it a resolution or a recommendation, select board?
I'd be in favor of a recommendation right now just to see how it goes. We can go up to the next step if, God forbid, we start getting cases of the coronavirus.
Good point, Rusty. Yeah. I would like to say, it strikes me, if this is only about being inside businesses, if we're going to recommend, I'd recommend in public places rather than just in businesses.
Yeah, I said public places, yep.
Okay, all right. So like the Sweet Pond Walk, that kind of thing, or at Green River. Yeah. Okay.
So are we in favor of making such a recommendation? Michael, what do you think?
You know, the only thing I'm thinking about is the highway department and what message we're sending to them. It's very difficult for them to do their jobs, if not impossible, with a mask on at times. So those are the people I'm thinking of right now.
Well, we could always add social distancing to it also. Make sure you're either social distancing or wearing a mask.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with recommending for sure.
You're fine with recommending?
Yeah.
Okay, and John, you're fine with recommending?
Yes.
Okay, and Miranda's not there, so does anyone want to volunteer to work on the wording of this with Peter? I'm happy to. Does anyone want to join us?
Sure, I will. I mean,
okay, John. So
I'll get in the loop. I could be in an email loop, I suppose, huh?
Okay, good. All right, Peter, do you have that?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Now on to the town garage update, Michael.
Okay. We have I mean, I've spent a little time with it. I actually personally walked the roof and took a lot of pictures, and it was definitely time, no doubt. So, working with Peter, we put a request for proposals out. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yep, and we are looking to put a standing metal seam roof on, which is a much higher quality roof than what is there. There could be, it won't be a cheap roof, but you know, it's sort of out for bid. I mean, so we'll get prices back. So I mean, I tried to steer it towards a roof that should give us a long life.
Excellent.
happy to share the pictures.
Richard, when you have a moment, Sheila would like to make a comment. And Sheila, you're muted.
Sheila?
Oh, no longer? Okay.
After Michael finishes, I'm just indicating my interest. Sorry.
Oh, please. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Go ahead, Sheila, please.
So when the select board was considering updates to the museum, we were getting, I can't remember exactly, bids for the siding or electrical work or something like that. And then we decided, I think you were there, Michael, that we needed to look at the foundation and everything else before we went up the building. And I know there have been there has been a lot of talk about what else the town garage needs. And if you do the roof, that means you are committed to the structure as it exists. Is that a given at this point?
I think so. I think there's a couple factors. I think we don't really. I don't think Danny's really too supportive of expanding the footprint. I think I became reasonably convinced that we need to just work with the building we have.
And we have gone back and forth about getting a study of the whole building, and we decided not to do that.
Yeah, part of it is, trying to do what we can now with the money we have budgeted, and just thinking that a brand new facility from the ground up is just not feasible in this economic climate.
But so the roof lasts for a long time, like 25 or 30 years.
Yep.
So we're committing to this garage, which does not house the major size equipment that we now have over the next 2 decades.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say that, Sheila. That's a little bit strong, I think. I think what we committed to was getting a good roof on the building that we have so that we could move forward with what we have until we need to make another motion. We couldn't find it didn't make sense to us to keep holding off on doing this repair. Does that make sense? Is that?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I agree, I think so, but I also wonder about the money, the whole program for the garage repairs and the life of the garage and the needs of the town as it increases. And there is a certain commitment that you're making to the cost of just doing the roof. And so I'm sure you've all thought about it, but I'll stop there.
Okay, well, thank you, Sheila. Any further discussion of the town garage and the update? And when do we expect the response to the RFP to be made? Was there a deadline date?
Yes, there is a deadline date in August, 14th, I believe. I'm just looking at my calendar because I have a note on there. So there is an on-site pre-bid meeting on the 4th of August. And the deadline is Thursday the 13th, and then the select board will make a decision as to either a contractor or not doing anything on the 24th of August.
Great. Sheila, I would say to you that if you would like to prepare a statement that is different from what the select board is advancing, then that would be very much appreciated.
Yes, certainly.
I don't know, Richard. Thank you for the invitation. Maybe the finance committee could look at it, but I just think that implicit in this decision is a commitment to the garage as is for quite a while.
And that's what I'm asking for. If you could put in writing something that the select board could ponder that is contrary to what it is thinking it's going to do, then we would have another opinion.
I'm happy, Richard. I just think that if you've all made up your mind, then and Danny's comfortable, then I certainly would concede to what the select board agrees with. I just think that we need to then look at the capital improvement plan and the budget and see how that's going to how that's going to impact a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And that's what we have a committee.
Right. Okay. Any further discussion of the garage?
I really got the sense that, I mean, I really seriously consider, like, oh, should we look at just fresh start, starting over? But just in talking to Danny, I didn't feel like that was the direction he wanted to go. And so I just felt like we need to kind of protect the asset that we have at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the roof was really in very, very poor shape.
And is leaking.
Yeah. All right, on to your update on COVID-19, Peter.
Yes, so Vermont has seen a slight increase in cases over the past week and a half compared to what we had been seeing for the past 4 or 5 weeks. We won't, we being the state as a whole, won't likely to see the full impacts of 4th of July for another week, maybe 2. 2 weeks ago, the state Emergency Operations Center was downgraded to a monitoring status only, although there has been an on-call watch officer at all times, even though it has been downgraded to watch status only. The state health department has expanded their pop-up testing sites throughout the state, so that's positive. And as Sara noted in her statement to the select board, that the state, the legislature passed S966 to provide financial relief to towns due to COVID-19, and the governor signed that into law a week and a half ago. We're just waiting on further information. Aside from that, the Department of Health is observing conditions in other parts of the country as well as states neighboring Vermont, and are ready to take action when or if necessary. Last but not least is the governor will be hosting a press conference tomorrow, which is anticipated to include new guidance as his current executive order expires on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions for Peter?
Appears to be none, Richard.
All right, great. And on to the warrants, and I'm afraid Ms. Porch is not here, so you have the numbers in front of you, Peter, isn't that correct?
Yes, so somebody would need to move to pay the finance warrants of payroll week ending June 28th, 2020 for $5,688.86. Payroll week ending July 5th, 2020 for $5,956.36. Payroll week ending July 12th, 2020 for $5,555.92. Expense warrant 2101 in the amount of $29,981.23. And expense warrant FW01 in the amount of $72. For a total of $47,254.37.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second it.
Is there any discussion?
Richard, so folks are aware, the primary expenses from the main warrant was chloride for the highway department of almost $6,000. Stone for finishing the grant project on Carpenter Hill Road for just over $2,000. The first section of our professional audit of just over $3,000. Annual dues to VLCT for almost $4,000, and quarterly retirement payments of approximately $4,000.
Thank you, Peter. Is there any further discussion? I should take the roll then. Rusty?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. The motion carries. Thank you very much. On to communications. Do we have any communications at this meeting, Peter?
Not this week.
Okay. Let's go over then the action taken.
Well, we have the actions from your previous meeting, which I'll go over quickly. The Select Board approved the Recreation Commission and the Vermont Forest Parks and Recreation Memorandum of Understanding. The Select Board reopened the town office for public business following the governor's orders. The Select Board awarded the Tater Lane culvert bid to Adams Trucking and Excavation. Michael, Dan, and Peter were to work on an RFP for replacing the roof on the town garage. Peter is to draft a memo regarding reopening the town office, which I did. Peter to update the memo on vacation time, which I did. And Peter to investigate recommendations and procedures for adopting mask regulation or recommendations in town, which I did as well. As far as actions taken tonight, there were fewer of those. So actions to be taken would be, I will work with Richard on the details of potentially holding the next select board meeting outdoors. Let's see, the select board, approved the confirmation of internal controls. The select board retroactively implemented town employee pay increases. I am to organize the Finance Advisory Committee information on the town website. I am going to work with Richard and Rusty to redraft the vacation section of the personnel policy and share it with the select board members and all town employees. I am to inquire about the backgrounds and the cost of background checks by the 3 businesses that were recommended to the town by VLCT. I am to work with Richard and Zahn on drafting a select board recommendation for the wearing of masks in public places. And that is all.
Is there an action step on the Green River issue?
Oh, the parking.
It seemed like there was going to be a meeting or something between the trust and Danny.
Yeah.
I'd like to have some kind of, because they're a little.
Yeah, no, we did take that action.
There is, I'm sorry, during that conversation, I wasn't able to type fast enough, so I need to fill in those details later. When I finish the minutes, I will share that action step with the select board. But you are correct, Michael. Yes, there is something to be done there.
Right, and the essence of it is that we agreed to that we could and we should work with the Guilford Highway Department to alleviate the parking problem there. That was the essence of it, not the details.
Yep. Yeah, it was that Richard and I were going to work with Danny on taking care of the sign and the other actions that were recommended.
Great. Are there any further comments before we get the motion that we're all looking for? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Michael.
Will someone do that?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, is there any discussion? I should take the roll then. Michael?
Aye.
Rusty?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. We are adjourned at 7:53. Thank you all.